Yes, sir. And we see right off the bat, spawning down in the bottom left-hand corner, the red Zerg player representing Team Acer. It is Scarlett.
Versus her opponent in potentially his last tournament, and this might very well be his last series. In the blue trunks, playing Zerg to the southeast of Whirlwind, Startail Golden.
Now, right off the bat, John, we're seeing something very interesting. Golden is scouting in the wrong direction with his Overlord. And I know for a fact that Scarlett sometimes likes to favor one base Baneling play on this map when she's not scouted right off the bat.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be happening here. So will we see Scarlett throw down an early gas in the spawning pool, or will she opt to play a more standard, more safe hatch first style?
That aggressive style could work out very, very well for her. As you mentioned there's no sign of a drone scout leaving the base here for Golden, so he'll be very much reliant on that very slow Overlord game. And there we get the hatchery coming down here. Hatchery at the same time for Scarlett as well.
Yeah. And as those hatcheries do go down, we see the new poll going up. Who is the best Zerg player at the Battlegrounds? It looks like right now a lot of people favoring Hyun, but Scarlett getting quite a few votes as well. Poor Golden bringing up the rear there.
He is the 1%, Mr. Bitter.
Maybe he can change that after this series, as it looks like no crazy early game shenanigans here, John. For now, it's just
Not really.
Standard hatch first, into gas, into spawning pool for both these players.
I can't object too much to that. It's nice to see a longer game with Zerg versus Zerg being a pretty dynamic matchup as of late.
Absolutely. There's so many options. The Roach-centric playstyles, of course, coming back a little bit with Muta losing some popularity, but Muta has not gone away at all. So,
no.
Absolutely anything.
It goes away very
possible.
quickly if it goes near a spore crawl.
How right you are.
You know, I like watching that. I get some sadistic pleasure from seeing Mutalisk die so quickly in such great numbers.
I will never forget seeing the Spore Crawler Dragon Ball Z cartoon that showed up on Reddit.
Yep, that is very, very true. That was a great one. We actually see Scarlett playing relatively slowly at the moment with the APM counter versus Golden, who is significantly quicker. Not that she needs to keep her speed up at this stage of the game, but some players prefer to do so in order to be ready for when they really need that extra burst of actions per minute.
We know that Scarlett's got the speed when it counts, and right now she's just taking her time, setting up that economy. Speaking of speed, Zergling speed, metabolic boost starting up for Scarlett already. Yep. Golden not yet, opting to take that upgrade and mining quite a bit of gas in the meantime, so.
What he plans on doing with that?
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Double Queen is the initial opening here for Golden. Baneling Nest already going down for Scarlett. Now that could just be a defensive Baneling Nest, something to allow her safety against the potential aggression from Golden, but there is always the threat and the possibility of a big swell of Zerglings with these first two larva injects. We're going to have to sit back and wait and see if Scarlett opts to do something like that, or if she's going to continue to commit to her droning.
Yeah, the Baneling Nest is down. That doesn't necessarily mean aggression, however, for Scarlett. And Golden did stop mining gas on a kind of an odd number, actually, 72. So he would be able to mine a little bit more and push himself up to layer if he so desired, pretty much whenever he wants. But he's not shown any sign of doing that as of yet.
And voting really picking up for Scarlett there in the poll. She's up to 42%. So the world has not decided who yet is the best Zerg player at the Battlegrounds, but
not as of yet. There we see the first player to go left. That would, of course, be Scarlett after building the Baneling Nest, but not really worried about building too many Banelings at the moment, but adding a lot of gas. 3 more gas geysers being taken, which is usually indicative of one thing.
Yep, usually indicative of a Mutalisk play. I'm really confused as to what Golden's up to, Total Biscuit. It looks like he's going to go ahead and drop a couple of Evo chambers, so maybe just wants to do the normal Roach thing.
It seems likely at this point, I would think. And you might think, oh, well,
yep.
Oh, hello. There we go. Let's a quick little look around and grab a drone. That was a nice move there by Scarlett, darting in to pull that one off. But you might think, oh, flying units versus Roaches. How terrible for the Roaches. Not necessarily. You can very much play a Roach style against that.
It really all comes down to the timings, John.
Indeed it does.
We can see that the community has decided that Scarlett is the best Zerg at the Battlegrounds. The crowd here reacts. A lot of support here for Scarlett. Of course, New York not so far from Canada. I'm sure there's a couple Canadians in the house. And
there's the Spire coming out right here.
Yep, Spire already down for Scarlett. Roachhorn finishing up now for Golden. And
Mr. Bitter, we appear to have entered the Matrix.
Who is the one?
I see blonde, brunette, redhead.
All I know is that there is no spoon, John.
No, there is not. Thorzane is unfortunately not in this tournament.
Upgrades are on the way. The first roaches and lings in production for Golden. And with drones behind it, it looks like he's just kind of getting them as a precautionary measure. A big roach timing, if it hits before the mutas are out, can be very difficult to deal with. But it's looking more and more like the mutas are going to be in play and plenty of time to deal with the roaches.
Yeah, the question, I suppose, is how many mutas end up coming out. Let's have a look at the gas. Oh, yeah, Scarlett is sitting on a massive bank of gas. That should be enough to repulse any kind of light roach pressure. The problem comes in when it ends up being like 20 or 30 roach just barreling down on your natural. The mutas like, we got this, guys, honest. And then it's just like, why aren't they dying?
We got this, guys, eventually.
Eventually, yes. Just give us a little bit of time, and we'll be there, and everything will be just fine. But I think that this is a decent position for Scarlett to be in. But we do see a Hydralisk Den coming up behind this, and there is a Spore Crawler. Absolutely, you'd want to do that. Golden's going to get a great scout with this Overseer anyway, or maybe not.
Well, I think Golden knows what he's playing against at this point in the game. He's only
Absolutely.
seen lings. He's seen these extra gases. Now the muta's actually revealing
Yeah,
themselves.
that's a little bit of a clue.
Behind this, Scarlett immediately drops a Roachhorn and an Evo Chamber, so it looks like she wants to transition out. Golden's got Spores down, the Hydroden is in place. These mutas can do some damage, but I don't expect they'll be able to do any kind of game-ending damage. Oh, but these drones in transit.
Hello. That's a nice one. Just doing a little bit of harassment damage, clearing overlords and things like that. That in itself is a decent use for 10 Mutalisks. And if you can pick off some queens here and there, just affect the macro of your opponent a little bit and not really worry too much about that, then yes, you can absolutely successfully transition. And also perhaps force your opponent into an unfavorable transition of his own. Oh, those Spore Crawlers. Vicious, absolutely vicious.
Yeah, but at the same time, good control from Scarlett, pulling back damaged Mutalisks and managing to pick off that Extractor. Gases.
Oh, so close to getting the +2. A transfuse. Nicely done. Golden saves that for the time being, but Scarlett isn't done with it.
Nope, Scarlett does want to come back for more, and that Evo Chamber, I think, is almost certainly going to fall. It's so hard to dance in there with Hydras present.
It is, but would she commit, I wonder? That is a possibility. Ling Run By comes in right here on the third. Scarlett not really able to get much done with it.
So far, great defense out of Golden. Minimal losses, really.
Solid.
The muta count is still very substantial, but Golden has managed to keep his economy intact, take a third base around the same time as Scarlett, mostly repel these mutas, and now we've got a fairly even game, 60 drones to 60 drones. The roach count on either side is about the same, and it's Hydras instead of mutas for Golden. So it's kind of impossible to say which way this game's going to go at this point, John.
Oh, I mean, I'm liking Scarlett's Mutalisk control in general, but she's making a couple of small errors, and she's also very unwilling to commit. She doesn't want to lose a Mutalisk, so, say, missing that Queen, for instance, becomes a bit of a problem, or not being able to cancel that upgrade. If she went back there and canceled that upgrade now after it's had so much work put into it, that could be absolutely huge. It could equalize things very nicely, but Golden has been upgrading longer, and Golden has not had to dedicate to Mutalisks. So if the Mutalisk transition was worthwhile remains to be seen, but what is clear is that Golden has an upgrade lead.
Scarlett is starting to find openings. Ling is getting up into the main base while mutas are still dancing around in the third. Roach attack into the third base as well. Scarlett's trying to do some big damage here, but Gold with a good position. Spine Crawler, Roaches, and Hydras all working in conjunction to repel Scarlett's Roach attack. The entire main base has been cleared out. Golden is mining much less than Scarlett right now.
However, if Golden is able to hold on, which right now is not looking so likely, with a nice little Roach Concave right here from Scarlett, then he would be able to get an upgrade advantage. But this attack landed before the upgrades kicked in. So Scarlett hammers down at the front here, takes a significant army supply lead. These mutas have stayed alive the entire game and have been hugely useful in the long run.
And yes, the whole world agrees. Scarlett is ahead right now. 86% of voters saying yes when there's mutas over your entire army. That's bad news for the army.
Yeah, the 30% that don't might want to take another look because this is looking bad for Golden right now. The Roach Warren is, of course, at the front there. That's tech that can be sniped. There's even the possibility that the +2 could get cancelled right here, but Scarlett's more interested in going for the throat.
Oh, she's doing a great job, John. 60 supply ahead and continuing to barrel into the natural expansion of Golden. There's no answer for the Mutas. The Roaches of Scarlett pushing forward even still. Just a phenomenal game here on Whirlwind. Scarlett allowed to go unchecked up to Mutatech and using it to punish Golden. GG gets called. And Scarlett strikes.
See if he can pull it back as we go on to the classic Cloud Kingdom.
Scarlett, Golden both looking very relaxed in the booth, surprisingly so given what's on the line here. As we are going to go ahead and hop into game where we will see. Spawning in the bottom left-hand position of Cloud Kingdom, the Red Zerg player leading 1-0 from Canada, Acer's Scarlett.
Versus her opponent to the northeast position of Cloud Kingdom. He has perhaps a 40-40 chance of advancing through to face his teammate Bomber. Playing Zerg, it is Startail Golden!
You know, as much as I love Golden, I think he's got a great personality, and I don't think the world has seen enough of him. I think everybody wants to see a Bomber versus Scarlett, I guess, yes. Lower bracket final.
Yeah.
Scarlett known for her phenomenal Zerg versus Terran. Bomber, a character in and of himself.
He's known for being a phenomenal bomber.
That's
usually the best way to describe him.
It's fair. That's fair. The Cloud Kingdom, of course, a two-player map makes it a little bit harder to get away with ridiculous things because you're going to scout your opponent right off the bat no matter what.
Yeah, we will certainly not see the failure to do so from Golden. Not that that really turned into anything. We've got the spawning pool coming down right here first for Scarlett. And it's going to be a hatch first instead for Golden. It's not a massive difference. You know, it's not a sudden advantage in the favor of one or the other.
Yeah, these builds are surprisingly similar. I guess on paper, Golden might come out a drone or two ahead when it's all said and done. Scarlett opting for that earlier pool, probably just in case Golden did something wonky like a 7, 8, 9 pool.
Yeah.
There's just a little bit more safety in spawning pool first, and it's really not economically that inferior.
Gas before pool. As greedy as you can get resource-wise, of course, without going 3-hatch before pool. Gets that spawning pool down very, very late indeed. And honestly, that's fine. I mean, he's not really under any threat at this stage.
Both these players gassing at around the same time. So Zergling speed's not going to come out, or shouldn't come out that much more faster for one than the other. As we see our new poll popping up. Can Golden come back? Can he win this match? Head on over to redbull.com/battlegrounds to cast your vote.
If you like clicking buttons, we've got loads of buttons for you to click throughout this tournament. Make your opinion matter right here, as we can already see that most people disagree with the idea. And frankly, after watching that last game, I've kind of got to side with them. That was a dominant performance. That was a really good example of Zerg versus Zerg right there. And Golden did his best, but it did seem like Scarlett was playing on another level.
Scarlett played great, but honestly, John, I think one of the keys there to that game was the fact that Golden allowed Scarlett to go straight to Mutas without doing anything to check her.
That's a very fair point.
And I do feel like had he done something, had he made the game more even, it gives him an ability to contest Scarlett's dominance. And I think he's able to do that. Golden's a great player.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely. So let's see if on an older map, he might be able to execute that a little bit better. Golden hasn't been the most active player of late. Obviously, he was far more well-known in Wings of Liberty. So it's interesting to see these older players actually play on the older maps and see what kind of styles they bring out. We're seeing Baneling Nest coming down from both players at the moment. You can't really risk not having one, especially on a map like this when your opponent is likely to get one of his or her own.
Yep, Golden just sending the Zergling Scout up into Scarlet space right now. Look how incredibly identical these two builds are economically, in spite of Pool versus Hatch first.
Yep.
Golden with 26 drones, Scarlet with 28. Baneling Nest and Spine Crawlers going down at like the exact same time. Ling speed at the exact same time. Virtually identical here at the 6-minute mark in spite of slightly different openings.
Yep. I like the placement there for Scarlett in particular at the wall. It's a nice place to put that Spine Crawler. It definitely prevents those full surrounds from coming in. And the first layer will be coming out of Scarlett, and we'll see if she follows this up with a lot of gas.
Yep, this time we don't see a ton of extractors going down right off the bat for Scarlett. So hard to predict exactly where she wants to go with this. We've seen her focus on upgrading Zerglings in the past. We've seen a lot of just standard Roach play out of Scarlett in the past. Golden, on the other hand, is taking those gases, you know, and as I say, Scarlett's 2 go down.
Indeed. Yeah. Golden's layer, of course, slightly ahead there in terms of the timing. We could end up in a Muta war. That has been known to happen, but you did mention earlier that Mutalisk on this map can have risks. That was a unfortunately inefficient detonation there.
In spite of those risks, I'm starting to feel like both of these players want to play that way. As Golden's layer and Scarlett's layer are both going to finish up. They're both going to start 11 drones
at the same time. Yeah, that is a mirror match to mirror build, certainly. Ling is going to pick this up and try to prevent the hatchery, which it will be able to do quite nicely there.
Sad little drone.
Yep, he's gonna, there we go. That's a nice little save.
And it will be Spire versus Spire. Muta versus Muta. The keys here, guys, are making sure you get that armor upgrade on your Mutalisks. Yep. The Mutalisk attack will bounce 3 times. And so if you have that armor upgrade, you're going to be taking less damage 3 times.
Exactly.
That's why it's typically key to get that upgrade first.
Yep. There is also, of course, the aspect of the ground army there. Instead of it just being a giant flock of mutas versus a giant flock of mutas, you generally want something on the ground to try and soak up some of those bounce shots.
First Lings are out for Golden, as we see the world feeling that he's not going to bounce back in this series. Scarlett does have units out as well to try and defend, and oh man, Banelings make me freak out every time I watch them blow up.
And rightfully so. There we go, there's a few, and Scarlett looks like she should be able to hold this, but we could see some good Baneling detonations coming in.
This is good control from Golden, and finally Scarlett manages a good trade, and with that, these Zerglings should be able to push away the aggression of Golden. More Lings on the way for Golden, a swell of 30 additional Zerglings, and if Scarlett doesn't have a good answer to that, her situation could become much more difficult than it is already, and immediately that armor upgrade that we were talking about on Golden Spire.
Yeah, there are Mutalisks already coming out right here for Scarlett, which will certainly help against this kind of level of pressure as well. And there's the armor upgrade coming out for Scarlett too. So Scarlett's done a pretty good job of defending this third base up to this point, getting good trades, and not overbuilding Banelings so that she's limited the number of mutas she can build.
That's such a great point, man. If you invest in a ton of Banelings, you're going to have fewer mutas. You're not going to have control of the skies, and you're going to have a bad day. So both these players making very sure not to overinvest in Banelings. Muta's out on the map on both sides, and now it becomes just a positional chess match.
It does. Yeah. You can't engage when you have less Mutalisks than your opponent unless you either have an upgrade lead, which you won't most of the time, or you have a significantly larger ground army, which will allow you to soak up some of those shots, which may allow you to come out ahead. So you do have to be very careful here, as you said, very positional, and each of these players will probably avoid the opposing flock so that they can take out as many overlords as possible.
Muta versus Muta is so dynamic and so when they fight, it's just the game's just going to end. So, but what we're going to see is probably this is dangerous. Golden has 4 mutas out of position. Scarlett's going to run into the main base, and Golden could be in a ton of trouble. Lings in the main, Lings in the natural, and Golden losing Mutalisk fights out on the map. This could be terrible. The third base is also left exposed, and Golden is up against the ropes already.
That's absolutely great play there from Scarlett. Scarlett realizes, look, I can afford to lose Lings as long as I get the Mutalisk lead, because when I get that, that's very difficult to catch up on. As we can see, a 5 Mutalisk lead here for Scarlett, and 5 more on the way as well. The sacrifice of Lings is okay there, especially if you pick off a queen, you limit the opposing Ling production. That is what one might say precarious, Mr. Bitter.
A tremendous advantage for Scarlett right now. Golden basically cannot fight Muta versus Muta unless he's over a Spore Crawler or some queens, and Scarlett knows it. She's going to press her advantage as much as she possibly can. This third base and the natural, Golden's going to have to choose to defend one. It's going to be almost impossible to save both.
Well, Scarlett's going to do yet another run-by that goes uncontested. That is actually going to do economic damage. Queen pops out and wishes that she hadn't. A single inject is all that's going to happen there. A very short career for that Queen. Yet more engagements coming in right here. There is nothing really on the ground there for Scarlett, but the numbers are in favor of Scarlett right now. She pushes forward. The Mutalisks are going down right now. Golden has no way to contest this at this point. There are not enough spores. There is not enough anything right here for Golden. Scarlett is looking to take the 2-0 right here.
This is exactly right, John. Golden cannot fight the mutas. There's just no answer. 18 mutas to 3 now. Golden's going to lose the third base. Scarlett pours into the natural. Obviously, Golden does not want to tap out. He's going to hang in there until the very last second.
There's the dance. He knows. He knows this is it. This is the end of the series. GG!
Good game and goodbye.
Indeed.
Scarlett 2-0 Golden advance.